Okay, so good morning, everyone. Myself, Ajay Kharshe, working as an assistant professor at Konkan Gyanpit, Rahul Dharkar College of Pharmacy and Research Institute, Karzat. Welcome all the participants to this one-day online session on pharmacovigilance regulations. Dear participant, our today's speaker is Dr. Dipali Pawar. Dr. Dipali has completed her homeopathy degree from Mumbai. She is having 15 years of vast experience. She started her career from Reliance Life Sciences Mumbai, and now from last 18 years she is working with the Tata Consultancy Services. Also, she is the chairperson of Ethic Committee of renowned Isha Netralaya, which is located at Kalyan. So, without taking much of time, I request Dr. Dipali to start our whole session. Dr. Dipali, over to you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Very good morning. Uh, and here today we are going to, hear about the regulations related to the pharmacovigilance. I hope you all are aware of what are the, the introduction or maybe the basics of pharmacovigilance. However, I will just take you through some like definition or what it is, and then we can directly start with the regulations. So hopefully you all are aware now, since you have this subject related to pharmacovigilance in your curriculum. You must be aware of it deals with the drug safety and all the safety aspects of any new molecular entity which comes into the research, or which has been introduced by any pharma company, and which goes through certain phases of clinical trial, and then this molecule is been approved by the regulatory authority. Now, here the regulatory authority is where we are going to focus with our session today. So what are these regulatory authorities, and how do they play the role here in the pharmacovigilance or drug safety? So you can free feel free to text whatever the, if you have any doubts, any queries related into the chat box, and we will try to answer them, and let's make this session interactive in this way. Okay, so now let's start with this session, uh, and as I told you, this is something which is related to the introduction, which you must be already aware of. So pharmacovigilance itself is something, um, as per World Health Organization, it is the science related to the activities like detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effects for any medicine related problem. So whatever here, the adverse effect, it, as you already know, it here it has a very broad meaning, wherein adverse effect not actually mean it should be related to a medicinal product, but it can be related to anything related to the subject or a patient who is consuming the product or the medicinal product. So it may be related or may not be related with the medicinal product. So this way you will see here the how the safety aspect of for any medicinal product related to the human, or now in fact the pharmacovigilance itself covers not only the medicinal product but even the medicinal devices. So in this way, this particular field, or this particular approach has been seen. Now this approach is adhered throughout the process of drug development. It is just not with the medicinal product which are approved, but right from the, the entity, the concept, when is been this entity, when it has been, picked up, or it has been, any pharma company invents this molecule to, this molecule can come in, or as it has been picked up, right from that time this particular safety aspect of the molecule comes into picture. So that is why we have here majorly two criterias or the classification in pharmacovigilance. One is the pre-marketing surveillance, which is, basically, as I told you, it is the preclinical as well as the clinical aspect. So preclinical here means, the in vitro studies, I hope you must be aware of. It is related to, all toxicological or animal studies basically. So in these studies are being included into the preclinical part, wherein, the molecule goes through certain research R&D things, and some supporting data, which ensures that this product or this molecule is safe to go to the clinical phase. So in that way, this preclinical stage is important, wherein the molecule is been and molecule is, goes through certain observations, and the data, some preliminary data, safety data is been collected and, reported or published, and basis on that the clinical phase of that molecule starts. So clinical phase is the clinical trial which you already have know, right? The phase 1, 2, 3, and then the molecule, when it goes through all these three phases, it is approved into the, and gets an approval or authorization to get marketed into, marketed, and thus the, the marketing authorization, who holds this molecule, gets, the permission to launch, or, sell the product or this molecule into the market. So this way, this particular molecule enters into the post marketing surveillance. So in post market, it is just not like, the safety aspect of the molecule. They have the certain short term as well as, long term. There may be some safety aspects which, are not seen in the short term period, so that those are to be monitored, tracked on a long term basis. So in this way, it's always, made a mandatory aspect by the regulatories to have this post marketing surveillance also for all the products those have been marketed. So adverse drug reactions, so when this terminology or adverse drug reactions come into come is been seen, that time, it is definitely related to the product. So adverse event is something which includes, related as well as not related events. However, when we speak about adverse drug reactions, that time we speak specifically of the reactions, or the effects which are been seen related to the product. So post approval stage and throughout the drug's life. So in this way, the complete life cycle of the product, the product is been covered under the safety surveillance or post marketing surveillance. So, guys, if you have any questions related to the specific things, I'm sure you may already be thorough with all these things. But still, if you have any questions, you can put it into the chat box, and we will try to answer that. So, Regulations. So when we come to our today's topic, which we are going to focus. So basically the regulations, when we talk about regulations, how do they differ with the guidelines, or the best practices that we see. So many of y'all must be having this initial may or may not be also aware that there are certain differences when we talk about regulations or guidelines. So there is a much difference when actually we go and look at these two things. So when we talk about regulations, they are legally binded laws, or maybe regulations always are based on the legally binded laws, or maybe these are something which are forced, that the marketing holder authorities, or they should follow it, and you cannot have any exception for that. It is a mandatory thing. So there the regulatory aspects aspect plays, whereas the guidelines or the best practices are those which which are been these are something which are which help, or they always guide these regulations or pharma companies to adhere to the norms. Like they have been they these guidelines help to standardize the way of how the safety data is to be handled. So this also we will try to cover in today's session, because mostly the regulatory authorities they follow certain guidelines to make these to follow the whatever the regulatory aspect of any product marketed, or under surveillance in clinical trial. So they adhere to some or the other guidelines and best practices. So even those we will talk today, for each of the regulatory authorities. So here I've just tried to give you some kind of brief introduction on how exactly these obligations or requirements on reporting are being explained, or these are explained by the regulations for both clinical trials and post marketing situations. So, so when we talk about reporting of serious adverse events and serious adverse events, here we talk about the clinical or the preclinical phase. However, in the post-marketing aspect, we always speak in the terms of periodic safety report. So that time, the pharma companies are not expected to report every time they come across any serious adverse event. Of course, if anything which is um, uh, uh, suspected or unexpected, and all those events, if it is serious, that how the impact or the risk weighs, in that way they can report it at any point of time. But of course, after marketing the product, they are by legally they are abided with the certain frequency of reporting, and that particular frequency is termed here as an periodic aggregate reporting, wherein they have to summarize the safety report for that certain period, which is the requirement of that regulatory authority, and it is been submitted. So in this way, regulations we look at as an obligations of the company to search out the requirements. So they search out which country they want to launch the product, or their product is going to be launched. So according to the requirement, regulatory requirement of that particular country, these products are marketed or studied. So this is how we get to know for the regulations is they are the legal requirements which is country specific or region specific. The way where they have been located, under which regulatory authority their country fall, or they fall into, and accordingly they have to follow, or the pharma company has to follow the regulatory requirements. So who regulates the drug safety now? Now, who are these regulatory authorities? So till now, we got to understand, what is drug safety, then what are the regulations, those are related, how they differ from the best practices or the guidelines, guidances, and now who are these authorities, and what do they do? So these regulatory authorities are also, globally known as regulatory agencies. So they are responsible for regulating the manufacture. As I told you, it will come as a preclinical as well as the clinical aspect, approval, that is authorization of the product, and sale of the medical devices and drugs in respective countries, for clinical trials as well as for providing expert advice on health issues and the enforcement of the Drug and Cosmetic Act. So what do these regulatory agencies do? Is been briefed in this particular definition. You can call it definition, as well as what is actually exactly the responsibility of the regulatory agency. So they actually provide, they monitor the product during the manufacturing. They provide the authorization approval as per the regulatory requirements, applicable for their country, and even the sale. They give all the all what kind conditions or the permission is been granted for the sale of the medical devices as well as drugs in those particular countries. So these agencies, they have the complete, oversight, and they have the authority to access the safety warnings. So all the safety warnings are being accessed first by regulatory authorities, because they receive all the safety data which has been analyzed at their end, and all the safety warnings are been first observed or seen there at their end. Then the labeling changes basis on these safety data or the safety analysis warnings, those are being observed or analyzed. Basis on that, the decision is made, or that there are changes in the labeling documents of any product which has been approved or authorized. And then also in some cases, if the risk or the safety concerns are very critical and major, which are hazardous, then even these regulatory agencies can take a call to withdraw or suspend this product for a certain time, wherein they may ask for some additional data, additional studies to take place, to actually investigate that particular whatever the risk they have been identified, and then accordingly the call is been taken whether the drug has to be withdrawn from the market or can be continued. So this way the regulatory agencies play a role. So I've just tried to put in the major, the regulatory authorities which globally, or global standards, or the globally regulatory agencies which are applicable. Almost they cover most of the regions or countries in the world. So first is, as you know, the FDA or the Food and Drug Authority, which is, this regulatory authority is been governed by USA, and the Health Canada, which is the regulatory agency in Canada. EMEA is the regulatory agency in European Union. So European Union and UK are, even if they fall, there are some union territories in the Europe, which together they form this EMEA, and MHRA is a regulatory agency which is applicable to United Kingdom, UK. Similarly, MHLW is the, you know, it is the health and labor welfare regulation, and which is related to the drug, and PDMA is related to the medical devices. So this regulatory agency is applicable to Japan. Then CDSCO, as you all know, is basically the regulatory agency which is applicable to India, and this is the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, and TGA is the Australian regulatory agency. So these are few of the listed regulatory agencies. Of course, there are many more also, which are like Singapore Health Agency and all. We There are many such applicable, but majorly these are the regulatory agencies which look into the uh, uh, drug safety aspect across the globe. So I just try to put it in the way, like how what are the major, what exactly these regulatory agencies follow, or what are the regulations, and on what basis these particular regulatory agencies, what are the differences, or what which guidelines are been applicable, or when we say about harmonization or standardization of the regulations, that time definitely, even if these all regulatory agencies are, you find them country wise or region wise, they are being differentiated, even though that this is seen now with the standardization and globalization, they try to come in, and they are trying to accept the global guidelines or best practices which are currently available. So we will just try to I will try to touch base these things, and then during that time also you can just try to correlate whatever the way I'm explaining it, and then if you have any questions, then you can put it into the text box. So now recently, the GVP guidelines, since 2000, since um, um, GVP guidelines is the good pharmacovigilance practice, which is one of the guidelines or guidances which are mostly applicable to the EMEA. But however, these guidelines are now been accepted or applicable mostly to all the regulatory agencies to follow this GVP. So this is becoming as an global guideline, and that is why this is important. Maybe I can quickly even give you this link which which will take you through all the modules which are mentioned here. So these guidelines, basically they include 16 different modules which talk about all aspect of pharmacovigilance process. Those are followed and applicable. So the clear guidance has been provided, what process is to be followed, and how it is to be conducted. So, GVP are a set of measures drawn up to facilitate the performance of the pharmacovigilance in the European Union. So, previously, Volume 9A was applicable, which is now replaced by GVP. GVP applies to marketing authorization holder, the European medical agencies, EMA, and the medicinal regulatory authorities in EU member state, as I told you. They cover medicine authorities centrally via the agency as well as medicine authorized at national level. So available for vaccine, biological medicinal products, and the pediatric population, wherein you can see this second part, product part, which talks about these vaccines and biological medicinal products. So this way, this GVP is been applicable or available, which talks about the standard process applicable to pharmacovigilance. Also, one more aspect related to the whenever we talk about the EMEA, EMEA is the European Regulatory Agency, which is also called as EMA. And one more, this regulation has been applicable since 2018, which is related to General Data Protection Regulation. So this has been followed by all the clinical research, pharma companies, and mostly it includes the protection of the patients, or the person's confidential or personal data, basically. So the data protection regulation, it is been very strictly followed by all the regulatory agencies, mostly in the countries or the regulatory bodies which are which for the European nations. So this you need to understand, you need to know what exactly this particular GDPR means. So this whenever you hear about the GDPR, then this is something which is related to harmonizing the data privacy, and this law has been applicable in Europe. Okay. So maybe I can, quickly take you through the GVP modules. I can even um, give you that link. Let me try, Uh, I just tried to see that link. Yeah, maybe I can. Are you all able to see this? Okay. So Ajay, if I have to place the link here in the chat box, or should I? How should we do this? Any idea? Hello.
हाँ मैडम ऑडिबल हेलो
Yeah, I just want to place this link in the chat box. So how should I?
Please copy that link.
Yeah, yeah, I have copied. Yeah.
Okay, if you copy it, then come to the StreamYard.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Mm,
Valuable education, whatever lessons you will be reading, will be included in the reading exam of English.
mm,
So
no,
you
I
are
don't think so. Acha,
Yeah,
StreamYard is
yeah.
here. Okay,
Yes,
got
yeah.
this, got this.
Yes. Okay. From either your English textbook or from your
Maybe, guys, you all can go through this. So this is what I'm talking about. This global pharmacovigilance practice, which yeah, Jay, we can go on mute now. So I
Yeah, yeah,
will
okay.
take
Yeah.
everyone through this guideline, what exactly this guideline talks about. So as I told you all, this GBP guideline consists of 16 modules, which defines clearly, it gives all the process that has to be followed. So as if you go through this link, and you can go through each of this module which is explained here, like module 1 explains here. Now when we are talking about these modules, there are few modules which are still in draft, they are not been authorized or approved. So I think it is module 11 to 15. Those four modules are still not authorized, but rest all modules you can just go here, they are been published, and you can see here they are effective dates are also been given here. So since 2012, this GVP is been authorized, and they are been applicable. So you can go through each of these modules. Like module 1 talks about the pharmacovigilance systems and their quality systems. So pharmacovigilance system is the, what exactly the safety data are to be followed, and the quality system is what kind of data is acceptable, as an safety should be acceptable for any particular product is been given here. So I can just quickly, open one of the first module over here, and see how well, and it is been given in a very systematic standard way. And this particular that is why this GVP modules or the GVP is been acceptable now by almost all regulatory authorities. And you can see here the structure and process, then the operations of the EU network, and everything has been very it has been defined in a very clear and standard, very in a very proper standard way it has been mentioned. So you can just go through it, and you can understand what are, the pharmacovigilance systems are being expected, and how it has been centrally managed, or what are the processes, like what are the quality objectives, quality requirements, quality systems. This everything has been very well described and mentioned over here in all these modules. So module 1 talks about, as we are saying here, it talks about the pharmacovigilance systems and their quality systems.
Dear participants, sorry for the interruption. There is a net connectivity issue, so Madam will join within a minute. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, now please again share your PPT. Actually, you are not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, now it's
Okay,
okay.
okay. So till where it was till module one,
Yeah, it's
you
module one. You have started with module one.
okay, but is it going in the right way?
Yeah,
Uh,
it was going finally.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So let me start. Are you taking me live or live only currently?
Yes, yes, yes. Again, please share your PPT.
Yeah. Are you able to see?
Yes, yes. Now open your PPT.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So are you all able to see this
Yes, yes, yes.
modules, GVP modules?
Yes, yes. It is visible.
And I hope all the students have received this link which I have shared related
Yes,
to the
yes, yes.
GVP.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so as I told you about module one, similarly, module two mentions about the pharmacovigilance system master file. So master file is something which is a standard way of filing the safety data, which has to be followed by the marketing authorization holder. That is, a pharma company has to follow this standard process of filing the safety data to maintain the safety data for all the listed products for their company. And that is how all the regulatory agencies will try to verify, or whenever they want to see the data, they expect it to be filed as per this module 2, that is the pharmacovigilance system master file. So this also has been clearly defined how the safety data has to be maintained by every pharma company or marketing authorization holder. So this is been explained in module 2. In module 3, all the all the pharmacovigilance inspections, how they will be conducted and the process followed, is explained here in the pharmacovigilance inspections, which usually is followed by all the regulatory agencies, which now they follow this JVP for pharmacovigilance guidelines. So fourth module, as you see, they tell about the pharmacovigilance audits, how they have to be conducted. So this is followed by the pharma companies for the internal audits as well as any external audits if they are conducted. They have all the process and methods. The standard processes are been mentioned here in this module for all the audits, and everything related to everything. If I just open one of this, and if you'll see here, they clearly give us all the guidelines, pharmacovigilance audits, what should be their objectives, then how the risk based approach will be followed by the audits, strategic level audit planning, how the planning will be done at strategic level, at tactile level, then operational level audit planning reporting, planning and field work, how exactly the field work will be done. So reporting will give you actually how the report will be, how the observations will be, what will fall under the the what are the gaps, those are to be identified, how they are to be classified, and the definitions of those classifications, like major, minor, critical, how they are, how what findings, what observations should go under critical, what should go under major, minor. All these things have been provided in a clear definitions. They all are been mentioned here. Then and everything, all related to all aspects related to audits, which are which provide and guidance to not only to the pharma companies, but also the regulatory authorities have a clear and standard clear and standard definitions and processes mentioned here. So this is how this is related for module 4 is related to pharmacovigilance audit. Module 5 talks about the risk management systems. Now risk management is again related to the data which safety data which has been received. That is always weighed against the risk, how risk and benefits. So this risk management, how it is been conducted, this process has been defined here in module 5. Then module 6 talks about collection, management and submission of reports of suspected adverse reactions to medicinal products. So, as you all know, the adverse events or SAEs, serious adverse events, these all individual case reports, how they have been collected, management, how what is to be done after they have been collected, managed, and how these reports are being submitted. Timelines and everything are being provided here in module 6. Similarly, Module 6 Addendum 1 Duplicate Management of Suspected Adverse Reaction Reports. So these in this way, each of the module actually they provide different aspects of pharmacovigilance or practices those are to be followed in drug safety. Module 7 talks about the periodic safety update reports. So this already I spoke about this in the marketing, that is the post marketing phase of any product. There is an the report or the safety data is been submitted to the regulatory agencies with certain frequencies which is been defined by each of the regulatory authority as per their requirement. This safety update report is been submitted to the regulatory authority. So how all about this safety update report, how what data should go in what format, and when and how it is to be maintained. So all those things are being explained here in module 7. Now, module 8 talks about post authorization safety studies. So, some studies which which are initiated or which can be an additional requirement of some regulatory agencies. These how they are to be conducted is been provided here in module 8. That is, after authorization, if any studies, safety studies are conducted on any product, how they are to be, what is the standard way to conduct these studies are been mentioned here in module 8. Similarly, you'll see here addendum 1 which talks about requirement and recommendation of submission of information on non-interventional post authorization safety studies. Then module 9 talks about the signal management, how the signal detection or signal management, that is whatever the safety data has been received as per the this above all guidelines modules, how it is been analyzed, and the safety data or how the signals, if any initiated, if any identified, how those signals are been managed is been provided here in module 9. Model 9 Addendum 1 also methodological aspects of signal detection from spontaneous reports or of suspected adverse reactions. So this is something which has been, if any additional things are to be mentioned, then they go as an addendum. And model 10 explains about additional monitoring. So if any additional monitoring is been indicated for any product, it is been provided here in module 10. And as I told you earlier, module 11 to 15 are, still 14 are still not been published, and they are still in draft state. They also are been mentioned here, and you'll find what exactly what are been covered in those modules, but still they are not published. So you can see here directly now module 15, which talks about safety communications, how the communication should happen in safety, what are the who are the responsible people, and what are the mandatory communications those need to be maintained by the marketing holder, authorization holder, that is the pharma companies. Then the 16th is the risk minimization measures. Now, whatever the risk are been identified or the analysis that has been happened over this reported or collected data, that time this even the measures are to be taken up to minimize this risk. And what are the tools and effectiveness indicator, how they have been monitored, whether this risk minimization, whatever the plans are being implemented to minimize the risk, are they been effectively working. So what are the indicators which are been which are in place, or which should be used to monitor this risk minimization plans implemented. So all these things in detail is been given here in module 16. So these are the educational material and everything. So this is how you can go through this. The link already I have provided to you, and you can go through it and try to understand, because GVP is something which is now very standard guidance which is implemented or applicable by almost most of the regulatory agencies. So that is why, I just thought to take you all through this GVP modules in detail. And if you have any questions anytime, you can feel free to put it into the chat box. Okay. So somewhere EMEA, also the FDA is something major role in the global regulations we have always seen, So US FDA is the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, and under which these regulations are being governed by the US FDA. So FDA regulations, mostly 314.80 CFR 314.80 talks about post marketing, and I think 313 point. So 312, 313, and 314 are the CFR guidelines which are related to the safety aspect, the safety pharmacovigilance mostly. So that is why I have tried to mention this here. And they also similar to GBP, they also are they also mention all the standard ways, to in what way the expedited report as well as the non-expedited reports are to be submitted, and for both serious as well as unexpected adverse events from all sources, that is within US as well as from other countries. So in this way, as well as when I talk about this last point, that is quarterly for the first 3 years, that is the with respect to the post marketing requirement is been mentioned here for any new marketed medicinal product. So this is how FDA also plays a role, that is the FDA regulatory agency plays the role in safety data, the legal all aspects, regulations related are been provided in terms of the CFRs, which give you the standard ways in how way the safety all data is been handled. So pharmacovigilance regulations across now all the authorities, major authorities or agencies which we spoke about. I've just tried to put in the kind of act or what exactly they look into, like for USA, you see it in an FDA, that is the 21 CFR Code of Federal Regulations are been defined there. And here the safety data, now periodic safety data, the difference I'm talking about, the rest of the reportings of the adverse events and all their timelines and all are mostly same, for all the regulatory agencies. Where they differ is somewhere related to the post marketing data. So post marketing data, the timelines or the frequencies slightly differ for these regulatory agencies, and that is what I have tried to put in here. Otherwise, similar now with the globalization, you will see all of them following almost the same guidance documents or ICGCP and the GVP, which has been followed by all these regulatory agencies. So for USA, you will see the safety data or the safety reports are being provided for any product every 3 months for the first 3 years. Then they have to submit it annually after 3 years, and after 5 years they go for 3 every 3 years the safety data is been published for any product till the life cycle, till the complete life cycle of that particular product. So similarly for EU, these regulations I have mentioned here. EU has additional, the not only the not only the laws and regulations, but additionally with the legislation and regulations, they have the directive thing, which has been mentioned here 201084 for EU. So this is something additional requirement for EU, and they earlier they used to go with the volume 9A. So 9A specially mentions for the safety regulations for guidelines for the human safety data. So now this has been replaced by GVP. And the periodic safety update reports for the EU are every 6 monthly for the first 2 years, and then there later it is been published annually. So in India, similarly, Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940 is been applicable, and they have the guidelines which they follow is the Schedule Y. So Schedule Y has been followed in India, and the safety data which has been requirement is there for the marketed product is every 6 months for the first 2 years, and then annually thereafter. Similarly, for Japan, as I already told you all, MHLW ordinance number, this particular law has been applicable there. They follow the GVP and good post marketing study practice, GPSP. So as you see, GVP is almost now accepted by all the major regulatory agencies. So periodic safety update report here is published every 6 months for the first 2 years, and then later on annually it is been published. So TGA is an Australian authority. This particular is they have the regulatory agency which follows the therapeutic goods administration, and they basically function. They also follow the GBP, and the safety update report that is been the requirement or is been expected by this authority is annually for at least 3 years from the registration date, or maybe presented separately for every 6 months. So this is how I have just tried to summarize the major regulatory agencies which are governing globally, and the rest of the regulatory agencies which or regulatory requirements for the other rest of the countries are depending on their local regulations. They have certain deviations or differences, variations, but otherwise mostly everyone, all of them follow the ICGCP and the GVP guidelines. Their regulatory requirements are based on these all guidelines. So I think I have almost done for today's session. So if you have any questions, or maybe we can just, I can just, I don't see anything in the chat box, I think currently. But if anyone has any question, you all can uh, text me now, or we can have this open session also, if possible, in this stream yard, and we can, otherwise we can close this today's session. So
Yeah, so participants, if you have any question, then please post it in the chat box. We'll wait for 1 minute. Okay, I think there is no any question. I think participants understood very well about the pharmacovigilance regulations. Actually,
okay.
you explained very well, madam. You explained very well.
I know actually it is a very vast topic, to cover it in a summarized way. It is little difficult, but I, at just to give an overview, I have tried to put in cover in all the regulatory requirements across globally followed. But still, if anyone has any questions later on, also any doubt, you can pass it on to me anytime, and I'll be happy to assist them to understand in details.
Sure, madam. Sure, sure. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you, madam. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Most
Okay.
welcome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.